Today is October 5th, Saturday, and we'll do a day-long retreat here at Abhayagiri on the theme of adaptability, which is always a good theme, always a pertinent theme. And as Ajahn likes to say, adaptability is the key to happiness. So not just that we adapt to external conditions, but we also adapt to our changing internal conditions, and in a way that we don't get swept up in the good and lost in the bad, but we can stay with equanimity. But we need to have a sense of adaptability to be able to do that. And the phrase in the suttas is like malleable, adaptable, fit for work. So that's the mind that is primed for samadhi. It has to be adaptable and malleable, and like water, able to flow into any situation. And also, I found quite moving, quite powerful, the session with Dhamma yesterday. And he was talking about having gone to this meeting of the indigenous people, the Truth and Reconciliation, because I don't know how many people here know about that, but it was a big deal a few years ago where it was discovered why so many indigenous children had gone missing over the last century in Canada. And the way it came out was at one of these residential schools, they discovered a mass grave with the bones of 120 children in it. And then they started discovering that at many other residential schools. So children who'd been abused, and then abused to the point of death, actually, and had put them in these mass graves. So really, really horrific stuff. And of course, in the U.S., the way the indigenous were treated was no different, and perhaps even far worse, especially here in, you talk about like Mendocino, Lake counties, there's this horrors that have happened not too long ago historically. And so when we think about things like this, of course, we ourselves would have never done things like this or committed atrocities in this way. And we feel really strong compassion for these people in these types of situations. But it is good to be able to open the heart to these kind of things. Also, there's it's coming out now with this Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. Just far, far more people have died than originally thought. And just this really, really horrific thing that's happening in the U.S. So to really come back to a sense of compassion. And how do we adapt when we hear about things like this? Like one thing Abhayagiri Buddhist was talking about was anger is never correct. So to get angry or cultivate a sense of hatred toward perceived injustices, then, real injustices, then that's not correct. That's not the way to move forward. But forgiveness, absolute forgiveness, is the way to move forward. And is incredibly powerful when that happens. There's many, many stories in history of lives being changed through forgiveness. One of the ultimate stories, of course, is the conversion of Angulimala by the Buddha. So the Buddha's virtue was such that he could actually cause someone who had murdered 999 people to turn completely and go the completely opposite direction. And that's very powerful, and there are other examples of that over history. There is this example of Louis Zamperini as well. He was a soldier in World War II, a prisoner of war in Japan who was tortured, and it's really miraculous that he even survived. And later on in his life, after struggling with alcoholism and huge amounts of rage and hate and anger, he actually was able to come out of that and go into forgiveness, to the point that he actually did go to Japan, wanting to meet with his captors who had tortured him and actually face-to-face forgive them, and also even ask forgiveness from them. But the main torturer, the main captor, didn't want to meet with him, but he was fully willing to meet face-to-face with these people with a sense of goodwill and forgiveness. It was pretty amazing. And the effect for him was Also brightness of mind, brightness of heart. So forgiveness is very important, and we have to be able to be adaptable in a very courageous way to be able to do that. To take the unwholesome, flip it over, is very important to be able to do that. That is the practice. Leave that for reflection this morning.